Arsenal, Tottenham, and Chelsea are keen on Ivan Ferguson. Arsenal cannot loan him in since they do not have any more domestic loans available. It is thought Brighton want 40 million for the striker. So we can't get Ivan Ferguson on loan because you already have Sterling and Neto on loan. You can only have 2 players on loan from the Premier League. We can get other players on loan from other countries, but not the Premier League. And it's sad that affects us because, Sterling isn't really doing much for us right now, and Neto really isn't doing much for us right now. They're just, there to fill in terms of numbers, especially Neto. And unless, Raya is injured, that's when Neto is going to play, and that could be this weekend. But, it's affecting our other business in terms of other loan deals, and they haven't really played this, and they haven't really had any impact at all for our team this season. But if we cannot get him on loan, if we want to buy him, it's going to be 40 million. So 40 million would be the price for Ferguson. Unfortunately for Ferguson, the injuries are too much. Even if he's a very good striker, he started very well, and they were talking about selling him for 100 million the way Brighton do, players like Caicedo and Ben White. And they've had a lot of players where, they imagine they sell them for a lot of money. And Ferguson looked like to be the one who's going to be next after all of them. But it hasn't worked out, and he's had a lot of injuries. And right now, man, can we afford other injuries again in the team? We already have Tomiyasu who's injured every time. We already have Jesus who is injured most of the time, and now he's going to be out for like 9 months. Saka is going to be out for 3 months. Ben White is, nearing a return, but he's been out for 2-3 months. We already missed Odegaard for 3 months. We have too many injuries. And then we have other players who could get injured anytime. Zinchenko's, Partey's, those players, well and good, very happy that they've been fit all season. But, anything can happen to them, touch wood. But, anything can happen to them. Ivan Ferguson is the latest that you've been linked to. So we are linked to strikers. As I said, we're looking at strikers, but who is it going to be? I have no idea. So let's wait and see what happens. So in terms of incomings, that is the latest. But in terms of outgoings, could things happen as well? Listen, according to Samuel Cardi, Gabriel Martinelli is among the options of Al Ahly for a January transfer. So for me, Martinelli is not on a selling list. I know some other people are saying, sell Martinelli, blah, 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 sell Jesus, sell Zinchenko. My point of view was I'm not anywhere near selling Martinelli, especially right now. At the end of the season, if Al Ahly come and offer us 100 million, then some things you have to do, like, when Liverpool took 100 million for Coutinho and they went on and bought Alisson and Van Dijk, and Chelsea sold Hazard for 100+ million, that money will help you. If you sold someone like a Martinelli for 100 million, and then that allows you to get a winger for 40 million and a striker for 60 million, that is probably good business, especially if you sold them to a team that is not in the Premier League, that is not going to affect you, and you're not going to see him coming back and scoring goals against you. That would be fine. But right now, we are not in a position to sell anyone. You sell Martinelli, and then what? We already needed 2 new forward players, and then you sell Martinelli right now, and then we need 3. And then now Sterling has to start every single game until the end of the season. Again, not ideal at all. But that is it's a rumor that is emerging that Martinelli is being linked to Al Ahly for a January transfer. So let's see how that one develops. But I don't think we're going to let him go. That is definitely not going to happen. But in the summer, maybe that's one to keep an eye on. We've been linked to a few wingers as well, like Nico Williams. Could we get a player like that, and then Martinelli ends up leaving? Who knows? Jorginho, according to reports, with Flamengo is going all out for Jorginho from Arsenal. Flamengo already has an agreement with the player. The player's representatives are confident that an agreement will be reached. So there's already new news, an update on this one. Arsenal said Jorginho is not going to leave this transfer window, which I agree with. As I said, we cannot afford to lose any player right now. We don't have enough players. Even Tierney staying, we're going to talk about Tierney as well. Tierney staying until the end of the season, I think it's a good thing because we just don't have enough players. Tierney staying maybe will allow us to use Lewis Kelly in midfield a few games. Maybe it will allow us to have Zinchenko in midfield a few games. Maybe it will allow us not to have to play Gabriel and Calafiori every single game, and you have Lewis Kelly there and players like that, and a Tierney there to start 1 game, 2 games there. Absolutely fine. There's going to be weeks where, even though we're not in the FA Cup and Carabao Cup, we could be out next week. Hopefully we go through in that one. There could be a final there, but Premier League, Champions League, you never know. You could have a week where you're playing Inter Milan I'm sorry, Liverpool, and then maybe you have a Leicester in the Premier League, for example. Then you start someone else in the Leicester game, and then you rest the other one for the Champions League game. We just need everyone right now. Also, with the injuries, just simply need everyone right now. And midfield, same. Partey, Rice, we've seen Partey being needed at right back so many times because of the injuries. So Jorginho and Merino will become even more important in midfield in terms of numbers. Next up, let's talk about Tierney. According to McGrath, Mike Kieran Tierney will stay at Arsenal for the final 6 months of his contract to be part of a Premier League title push before returning to Celtic in the summer. A pre-contract has been agreed. So Tierney will not be here next season. You already know that. He'll be on his way to Celtic. But in terms of this season, I think we need him. In terms of numbers, we need him. And to be honest, the games he's played, I think he's played well and he's put in some really good crosses that deserve to be scored. The one he had for Sterling in one of the games. There's another one recently he had for Odegaard. He should have had assists for those chances. And it would be the comeback of the season. It would be the comeback of the decade. If imagine if Tierney leads Arsenal to a Premier League title, that would be absolutely insane. But yes, he will be here for the rest of the season. But next season, Tierney will not be here. Very surprised that he's even here until now. That is a shock in itself. I thought Tierney would leave us like 2 seasons ago, but he is still here. And let's see how he does before us between now and the end of the season. Another player, we've talked about Martinelli, Jorginho, and Tierney. One player that is definitely not going to be leaving is Gabriel Magalhaes. According to reports, Arsenal keep working on renewing Gabriel Magalhaes' contract. His renewal is key for the project. Arsenal are pushing, even though an agreement is not yet closed. Again, as we always say, it's great to sign players, but you always have to keep your better players as well. And Gabriel, I think, is in the top 3 signings under Mikel Arteta. He was one of the first signings in the first summer window that Arteta had at Arsenal. He signed Partey and Gabriel, and Gabriel has to be in the top 3. I think he has to be there with Odegaard and someone else, maybe a Rice, somewhere there. He has to be in the top 3 signings that Arteta has made. He's had an impact. He started, there's some times I remember when he was new, people are talking about no bench Gabriel, play Pablo Mari. We were so stupid to even think that. He came through that. And then there's another season, I think, when you're fighting for the Champions League with Tottenham in 2022, people are talking about no, Gabriel needs to be replaced. He's too rowdy, he's too erratic, all that. No, he's come to, and this one is not just, important for us defensively. Is very important for us attacking wise as well. Like the reason why I feel like, we can compete against Man City these days is because of players like Gabriel. Like we know that he's not going to be bullied by Haaland and they're going to have a battle, and Gabriel and Saliba there, important. So we have to do everything in our, whether we win the league or not, we have to do everything in our power to keep players like Gabriel and Saliba and Saka. They have to play. And Gabriel and Saliba are still young, so they can still be here for, 10 years. If we start winning titles and we keep them, they can be here for another 10 years, like, Tony Adams and those players who stayed for years and years and years. That is what we want with players like this. Keep important players. Yeah, obviously players are not going to stay in the same team forever. Players come and go, but players like Gabriel and Saliba, we've built such a solid foundation there where people actually consider Arsenal as having the best centre-backs in the world. When was the last time we ever had that? Maybe you'll have to go back to Campbell and Toure and Adams and Keown and players like that. And those are 2-3 decades ago, man. That's a long time ago. So that's the latest on Gabriel Magalhaes as well. Let's see what happens in crucial 3 days coming up in terms of on the pitch and off the pitch. We have to beat Man City. We have to hope that Bournemouth help us against Liverpool, and we also just do our job first of all, and then we have to hope that we do bring in a few forward players, and we do keep the players who've been linked to the moves away. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next one.